Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and to give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Life Chiropractic College West, and M-Sculpt. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 494 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Kris Harm. If you want to hear a story about finding your tribe and how to become a great chiropractor, stay tuned. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Today it's 494, and I have Kris Harm coming over from London area. And I'm really happy to have him on for this episode. I believe we're going to be able to have a great conversation about chiropractic, his career, and some of the things that he's doing to support chiropractic within the future of the profession. But before we jump into this episode today, I just want to let everybody know the big why. Why do we do what we do over here at Chiro Hustle? Well, the First Amendment's huge, freedom of speech, and we protect that with our show, and we let people share their truth. And medical freedom is something also very important to us. And we allow people to speak about chiropractic, which I believe is something front and center in medical freedom. And family health freedom is something that's also really important to us, and it should be to you as well. And we believe that people should have freedom of choice what they do for their family's health and how they stay healthy and what they do to stay committed to practicing a wellness lifestyle. And then we go into other parts of the profession that I think are really important that our listeners should be aware of, and that is protecting the sacred trust. The sacred trust are BJ Palmer's last words, and I believe we do need to guard it well. And if you guys don't know what that means, go to your favorite search engine right now and look for BJ Palmer's sacred trust. And as we continue, we believe in subluxation-based chiropractic. It's almost crazy that we have to mention that in today's era. We were just talking about this off the camera, but then we do believe in universal intelligence and innate intelligence. We also believe that when someone gets adjusted, it connects man or woman the physical to man or woman the spiritual. And with that being said, Dr. Kris Harm, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, James.
Yeah, I mean, I almost feel like it's my debt of gratitude to the profession when we do our introduction here to let people know the big why. Because I know that 75% of the people that listen to our show listen to 75% of every episode. So I want them to at least get the first bit of the show to know, like, why we do what we do, because, there will be people that click on and they'll hear what this sacred trust is, or what subluxation is, or innate intelligence, or universal intelligence. I know a lot of the work that you do with the students is to help retain this knowledge and to make sure that we perpetuate that into the future. But before we talk about like the uniqueness of what you're doing, how about we just open up by sharing your chiropractic story and how you got into this beautiful profession?
So I did gymnastics when I was younger, and very quickly got into the idea of helping people perform better in that sense. And I think my journey started out thinking that I wanted to be a PE teacher. But at the age of 9 or 10, I met up with a friend of a family who was a physio stroke osteopath. And he became very important to me throughout my whole life, and still is. He's still alive, still practicing. He's not really practicing as a physio. He's more of a chiropractor than that, but that's what he was trained in. And I kind of always knew that I wanted to do this, and probably thought I wanted to be a physio up until something really severe happened to me in gymnastics, and I got a compression injury in my neck, and one of my coaches was studying to be a chiropractor. So I came to him, and I got adjusted for the first time, and I literally felt amazing after that. And in that moment, I just knew I wanted to be a chiropractor. It was just a question of how and when, right? So
Yeah, I think a lot of times when I hear stories like yours, at the end of the conversation, I ask people to tell us a miracle story. And it sounds like, the miracle story was your first adjustment.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, miracles, is it a miracle? Or is it a logical reaction from what we do, right?
Yeah, but from the mindset of a practitioner, we
Yeah.
see, and from an advocate, we see miracle as a much different thing. When somebody has tried everything under the sun to find, a path that they can follow to feel good and have results, that I would say is a miracle to most people,
Yes.
because we understand it on such a different down the path level. We have a different appreciation for what a miracle really is. But, when you are at that position in your life and you got that first adjustment, a lot of people don't know how to put that into words.
True. Very true. Yeah, no, I had many injuries during gymnastics, as one does when you practice something that sort of dangerous. And I've probably been to every single hospital in the whole of Stockholm when I grew up. But I always was fixed up, if you like, right? But that chiropractic adjustment was something completely different. Changed my body's reaction in a second. So.
And I feel the same way. When I first got my chiropractic adjustment, I was 16 years old, and I had hurt myself playing American football, and I got an adjustment. And I'll tell you, every game I played moving forward, I didn't want to ever go out onto the field without having an adjustment before and after I played. I just felt better. And my mom was always curious as to why I felt like I needed chiropractic. I go, well, because I just feel better performing. My body functions better.
Yeah, something inside you that just tells you that this is what you need.
Yeah, and I didn't care what they called it. I just wanted to make sure that I was going to get that.
More. Yeah. Yeah. But
I
that
know
happens every day, right? Happens every day in clinic. People just come, right? That's amazing.
yeah, so let's talk about the uniqueness of where you're at today. I know you've been doing a whole lot with the student group.
Yeah, I had we had 5 clients who decided to start chiropractic school about 3 or 4 years ago. It's 7 of them now in total, and they are in year 3, 4, and 2, I think. So it's really good, and I suddenly realized that I needed to support them, right? So decided to start a little small support group first, and it has just grown. I think in total, in number of names in the WhatsApp group now is 65. So it's a great pleasure to do it because they're so hungry for information. And it started out as a philosophy group, as I didn't have any philosophy during my school years, and I discovered it probably after 12 or 15 years in practice, really, little by little, drip fed of things, surrounding myself with, the right chiropractors, if you like, very good people. And I just think that it's something that's missing in the schools. They are not taught philosophy. They are taught it as an historical thing, which sounds crazy to me. So we talk a lot about other things as well, but it's all coming back down to the philosophy.
Well, I just spoke this past weekend at a philosophy symposium out in South Carolina. And I think that it's one of the only states in the United States that can get continuing education credits for philosophy. And I think we need to go back to the rich history rather than remove the rich history. And I think that we need to embrace it greater than trying to divert from it, because without philosophy, chiropractic loses its identity. And I think that we need to preserve the identity of chiropractic, because I want your children and their children's children and my children and my children's children to have access to philosophically sound chiropractic. And I honor you for what you're doing to preserve that within the new graduates and helping foster that into them as they become the next generation that will pass the torch on to the people that they inspired to go become chiropractors. So I know this wasn't in our questions, but I am curious of the graduates that are coming out, where are you recommending them to go get their chiropractic studies at?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, there are quite a few schools now here in the UK, but I would say the school that I would root for the most is probably the one that is opening this year. It's in Edinburgh, and the Scottish Chiropractic School, and hopefully they will start hit the ground running this year. After that is probably the McTimoney one in this country, but none of the other ones even recognize the philosophy. So yeah, those will be my two recommendations in this country. I'm not too familiar with the rest of the world's schools, but yeah, definitely those.
Yeah, and I think it's just an honest conversation that needs to be had. And it's one of these things that we'll talk to each other like this, and we won't really, voice our recommendations, our opinions. But I'll tell you, supports our show is Sherman College and Life West College. And I contribute to Life University as well. But I think that when it comes to understanding what chiropractic is doing, we have to preserve it. And if we're ever going to make sure that the chiropractic profession has great adjusters with great philosophy, then we have to take it to them. Because if they're not going to get it from the colleges and they're not going to get it from the curriculum and from the professors at these universities and from the leadership within these colleges, then we need to provide it to them. We need to supplement them. Just like our food supply is deficient from nutrients, we have to supplement our health with proper supplementation. And I think that that's kind of the analogy I have to give for the chiropractic graduate. We need to supplement them with the real philosophy and art of chiropractic.
I like that. I might steal that from you, actually. Now take your supplements. Here you go. Yeah, but it is an honor to have them want me to teach them that, actually, which is really good. We have lots of guest speakers on there who are more than happy to help. I mean, the chiropractic profession is amazing. There's so many kind souls and people in the profession, so never have any problems getting new ideas with anything. So and someone clever told me once that the teacher learns more than the students, right? So
yeah,
I'm good with that.
I mean, being a podcaster and upwards of 1,200 interviews, I've learned a great deal about this profession. And to become a greater advocate, I wanted to tell the story more frequently. And I thought that we were lacking public relations. And I thought that they had done an amazing job fighting the chiropractic profession and pushing it down within mainstream media and making chiropractors look, less than. And I said, well, what can we do to actually create a positive spin by telling the story of chiropractic more consistently? And that's really what born Chiro Hustle was. I just wanted to actually provide something to the public that was actually telling the truth about chiropractic rather than trying to justify what chiropractic does. And who better to get that message from than from the voice of real practicing chiropractors? And, I feel like we're just getting started. I feel like 5.5 years into it, we still have a lot of work to do. But I believe that by creating this family and this tapestry of chiropractic story, we're better for it than without it.
Yeah, it's a great thing to do, because most people, and well, maybe in America, but most people in this country 25 years ago when I arrived here didn't know what chiropractic was, and that's quite scary, I think.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Life Chiropractic College West, and M-Sculpt. Let's hustle. Yeah, one of my my speaking coaches, Roberto Monaco, and he trains a lot of chiropractors on how to become better presenters. And he has a famous quote that I use of his that says, "If we don't tell our story of chiropractic, someone will make up one about us."
Yeah.
And there was a guy named Barry Anderson who was a part of a group called Everest, and he would tell the people that studied his sales systems, he would tell them, if we don't tell them the truth about if we don't sell them chiropractics, and someone else will close them for drugs or surgery. And unfortunately, we have to live in the paradigm of us against them.
Yeah.
And it's a challenge, but I believe that we have to just keep on telling people the truth about chiropractic, because they're tirelessly pumping commercials and disinformation. See, we get told that we're the disinformation.
Yeah.
And all those people, I would guarantee you, they're seeing a chiropractor, the people that are behind those campaigns, because they want to remain healthy. And, I could go all day about this stuff, but let's focus a little bit more on what we're doing together today. And reeling it back in, what are you recommending to the students that want to grow a practice? What are maybe 2 to 3 things that you tell them that are necessary for them to grow a practice and convert people to chiropractic patients?
So I would love somebody would have told me to get a coach when I came out of school. So I'm telling them that, although they already sort of have one in me in that sense, right? But it's just really important to find your tribe, I think, to find somebody that will work with you and help you grow, in whatever way that is. There's too many, and has been too many, chiropractors who've thrown in a new grad into a room and tell them to get on with it, right? Without the support, without sharing their experience with them. And I think that's really, really important, that we nurture those new chiropractors that are coming out, and maybe like we do even from the student sort of groups, right? Year 1 starting.
So get a coach.
Yeah. Find your tribe.
Find tribe. What do you tell them about marketing?
Well, we do talk about a bit about marketing, and it's important to be on that as well, right? You need to be seen, otherwise, somebody else will be there instead of you. I'm not the greatest marketer, I think, but I've learned through experience and life, right? So I have a company who helps me with that, one of my coaches. So, but it's, social media is big. It's, you got to be seen. We do local markets. We have charity events in the clinic. We do screenings, of course, in-house and outside. We're doing a charity day in mid-March where we donate all the money for a day to a specific charity that we have decided together. And I take my whole crew with me, and they are part of the decision making in the clinic. So,
yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about growing a community. And if I were to go back from 14 years ago when I got into this profession, and I started to distill down what I was actually doing, working in that office, is I built a community. And I think that has to be the big part of the dartboard when people are playing darts, is build a community. It doesn't matter what number you hit on the dartboard, make sure that it's just going towards building your community. If it's social media, if it's podcasting, if it's a screen event, if it's a dinner, workshop, whatever it might be, if it's your patient education class that you give, make sure that it's all going towards building community. And I think that that's what social media is. If you do it properly, you build community. If you get your coaching group or your student group together, really what you're doing is building community. And people are very, very interested in being a part of something bigger than them. I've come to find that people will do a far more greater in the world for less money if they feel like they're connected to a greater cause. And we could translate that to people being a part of a chiropractic tribe, or being a part of being coached by a chiropractor. Is we can all get better community involvement if we focus on that as marketing.
Yeah, I agree with you. Community is and giving things, giving easy information out to the people without charging for it, is a good start, at least with the marketing.
So for you, for health, I know that we're switching gears because there's a few more questions I want to get to before we wrap up today's interview. But what are you doing personally? Because I think this is a big telltale to people that are interested in our show. Like, how are you staying healthy? What are you doing to keep yourself, congruent with what you do in your office?
I've always exercised, of course, so I can't live without exercise. And I do lots of different types. I've got a little mini gym here at home. I do HIIT exercises. I do Pilates, a bit of yoga. I meditate every single day, and I have done for the last 6 years. Before that, it was sporadic when I had time, but now it's every single day. Sometimes a short one, sometimes a long one. So those are the main things that I do to stay focused, and on the straight and narrow, so to speak, for me.
So are you including chiropractic adjustments in that?
Oh yeah. I just got adjusted today, so I get adjusted at least once a week, of course. And I eat healthy. I cook my own food from scratch. I take supplements to support my body. So,
well, I think it's really important for us to share that transparency. And maybe somebody's watching this and they needed to hear one part of that, and I think that the meditation thing is huge. And there's a guy that created the Joseph Pilates, started Pilates. And he's famous for a quote, at least to me. And he would tell people that you're only as healthy as your spine. And I think he understood chiropractic better than a lot of the chiropractic schools.
Absolutely.
So it's important that we do talk about what we do, because there is going to be people taking notes from this, and they're going to be learning from us. So I believe that it's important for people to know what we do to stay healthy. And the chiropractic lifestyle is one of those, eating right, good, healthy mental thoughts, and
hydration.
Yeah, I think that if more people knew some of these simple things, they wouldn't come to the chiropractor when it was a last ditch effort saying, "Can you put me back together? Because I've been broken for 30 years and I'm not sleeping. I have headaches. My back is like, sore, and I can't do the things I like to do." And I think that if people, I was going to my clinic yesterday, and the gal asked me why I do hyperbaric chamber at the front desk because she was new. I go, because it keeps, it's anti-aging. I said, it's good for longevity. So I was like, you see the people that show up here in their 40s that are in pain and distressed and have issues. I was like, that's why I do that, because it's preventative. And that's why you see me here every week, because it's preventative. And I said that that's a good understanding from my perspective. And I said, when people get chiropractic regularly, it's kind of a cliche within the profession, but it gives years to your life and life to your years.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we know this stuff, Dr. Kris, but sometimes I think like we have it all inside of us, and we feel like almost like maybe we shouldn't share this with other people because we talk about it all the time.
Oh yeah. Always tell the clients how many how many adjustments you get a week, right? Because otherwise they wouldn't know, right?
Yeah. And I just think it's important to tell people that chiropractic is anti-aging, and you don't have to come to a chiropractor when you're experiencing symptoms, and that just having yourself on schedule regularly will keep your life better. Because another cliche is, if you don't spend money on chiropractic now or your health now, you'll pay for sickness later. And I really believe that. Like, so many times people mismanage how they take care of themselves, and all of a sudden all of their money and resources and livelihood go towards trying to save themselves from being not feeling well.
Yeah, health is wealth, right?
Absolutely. So let's future pace this profession a little bit. I know you're in the UK, I'm over here in the States, but 20 years down the line, it could be either utopia or it could be grim. Where do you see the profession going?
Well, I would hope it'll be utopia, actually. But I think it's important, like we talked about before, to get people to realize that without the philosophy, there is no chiropractic. Without philosophy, there is no science. Philosophy makes you critically think about things and question them, right? You can't just blindly follow what most people nowadays say, I follow the science, right? But you can't just follow it without questioning it. So philosophy makes you think in a different way, in a different level.
Absolutely. And I don't look at it as the grim either, but I think that we have to create more philosophically driven groups. I think that there's enough people out there talking about medicalization of chiropractic that we need. Yeah, I know. It gives me the same look, and but I think there's enough groups out there that are doing that we just have to become, once again, advocates for grassroots, and start the philosophy groups and stick with it, and nurture the young minds. And people ask me all the time, like, what makes chiropractic amazing? And I think it's the adjustment, you know, and I think that that's another thing that we have to really focus on, is making sure chiropractors, that when they come out of school, that they have confidence in shooting x-rays, they have confidence in adjusting, they have confidence in the philosophy. And that's really why we're at where we are today, is because the chiropractors of the past have instilled that into your group of chiropractors, and the chiropractors that have been practicing for 30 years. But I think as the schools have become a little bit more diminished with teaching great technique and teaching great philosophy, that we do need to supplement that back into the profession. And I do believe that we can win. We just have to be more consistent with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's we need to think positively about it, right? And do the positive things to drive it towards that.
Absolutely. So let's talk about some people that have impacted you to become who you are today. Some of your heroes, some of the people that have inspired you to become the doctor you are today.
Wow, there's so many, so many. I think my total and ultimate hero is probably my granddad, actually, who made me. Well, he didn't make me go to chiropractic school, but it was a private school in Sweden, and it cost a lot of money. And he supported me throughout that, and he will always be my big hero to get me to where I wanted to be, right? But there's so many other people. There's so many people in the profession here in the UK, in the States. Yeah, I mean, the family friend Istvan Jörfi, who is Hungarian physiotherapist in Sweden, he's big influence on me. His own sort of training philosophy and nutrition and all that, I just sponged all of that up when I was younger. So, and then of course, the big greats. My absolute favorite to listen to is Reggie Gold. I just really wished I would have had a bit of better understanding about the philosophy when I was coming out, so I could have sort of looked him up a bit earlier. But yeah, give me an hour with anyone, that will be the person. I think Reggie and my granddad together.
Yeah, I think that it can't go without being noted that the people that make us who we are, we should always be thankful for them. And that's one of the parts about this show that I really appreciate is I get a chance to ask people like what they're proud of. And every time I get to this segment, I get to see a change in physiology with the person, because they go back in time and they start to really understand who the hell they are and why the hell they do what they do and what inspired them to become who they are. And I think that those are things that have to be focused on, because sometimes we get so far down it that we forget why we do it. And we let the nuances of the day get in our head all the time, and we forget the big why.
You have to be thankful, right? You have to practice gratefulness.
Absolutely. So let's go lightning round. I have a couple questions that I've been thinking about. One chiropractic book that everybody should read. What do you suggest?
Wow. I think my favorite at the moment is probably 33, which is given out by the Scottish Chiropractic Association, which is a whole bunch of different chiropractors giving their little story in there, which is lovely. Simon Senson's book about Reggie Gold is a huge favorite of mine at the moment. So those are probably the two, but there's so many. I mean, all the green books, of course. 33 again by David Serio is another one. I mean, I can go on forever, right? But
yeah, well, I think it's important for people to find something to read, and I think it's a good segue for us. When it comes to adjusting, what do you think a young chiropractor has to understand when they're going out there to start their practice? Like, what adjusting techniques would you recommend?
I don't think it matters too much what techniques you use. What really matters is where it comes from, and it needs to come from here, right? And your intention needs to be there to love that person that you've got in front of you on the table.
And another question I love to ask towards the end of these interviews is, if you're the last chiropractor on planet Earth, would the profession survive?
Yes.
I like the resounding yes.
Yeah.
And if people want to join your student group or learn more about you, where can we send them to?
They can send them to directly to me on Facebook. There is a student group, a private group on Facebook as well called Senses Health Student Support. You can contact me via my website, senseshealth.com, and I can put you in the right place. But we always welcome students from everywhere, really. So I'm happy to help everyone become a great chiropractor and a person.
I love that. During today's interview, is there anything I didn't ask you that you would like to share with our audience?
Wow. No, I don't think so. I like talking about chiropractic, so I can talk for a long time, but I think we covered a lot of things.
Well, I appreciate you spending some time with us today on the Chiro Hustle podcast. You're episode 494. I just want to tell everybody out there that you're one story away to keep hustling. And Dr. Kris, thanks for being our guest today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, I look forward to working with you long term and being a part of the group that you're building and seeing how I can help support the people that are trusting you for your guidance.
That'll be amazing. Thank you so much, James.
All right. Talk soon. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.